talking about stabilizing yourself a lot. Do you feel like maybe it's time to do something with the wheelchair a little bit? Dump yourself down in there a little bit more so gravity does more of the work, or
Possibly.
Have you talked about that?
I haven't. I have changed the angle of my backrest on my power chairs, but I've not done anything with my manual chairs yet.
Because sometimes dropping the rear floor seat height is going to let gravity do a little bit more of the work. So then you're freer and you're not always having to stabilize, especially as you've had some of those abdominal spasms kick in.
And growth.
And growth. I get it. Me too. When we met 7 years ago, I think we were both a little different. But that maybe could help out a little bit. So that's something that, you know, are you still working with a wheelchair vendor? Or?
I can't. Yeah, I can. That's no problem. Well.
Right. I get it.
But all I'd have to do is ask Dr. Silas, and she would take care of it.
That might be something, and if you ever wanted to simulate that, we could even put something under the front of your cushion that would bring your legs up relative, right, and give you the feel for that. And then, because the big thing is you have to come forward in your chair a little bit more for your transfer. That's like the biggest thing. But speaking of transfers, do you mind transferring over? And I would like to go ahead and take a look at some other components of your strength that we can do better in a chair.
Oops, sorry.
Some of you here just in case. Show them how people would guard from us.
You want me completely up here?
Yeah, could you get in the long set first, please? So I know, but I just think I've got to show them that typically I would be here to guard somebody who was new to me. All right, do you and your kicks, do you want your shoes off when you're here?
I can't take them off.
Yeah, whatever you
But my
want.
spasms finished.
Yeah. You just let me know. Because me, I like to take my shoes off in the day. Just gonna put them right into there where I don't flip over them. So, let's take a look at your balance here, please. It's pretty awesome.
It's gotten better.
Yeah. What do you think has gotten it better?
Practice, doing it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the floor. Because it's easy to sit up in my bed because I sink into it so much.
Right.
But so on the floor it's a little harder. So just being in the floor.
Okay. I'm going to crawl up here behind you. And I'm going to take a peek at a couple of different things. One of which is, can you just bring your arms out to the sides and sit there? Thumbs up. Awesome. How far can you lean forward doing that and come back to upright? Wow, that's pretty good. Actually,
I can tell you further, but I don't.
that's okay.
think I'll.
Go for it. Let's see how far forward you can go there. Okay, and come back. You know what? You got about 2.25 inches there. Pretty cool, huh?
I don't know.
I know you went a little farther. You're on me right now, but I'm here for you. There you go. How far back can you come? That's okay. You went about 3/4 of an inch. Try it again. There you go. You went 1.25. And you ran into me. So that was probably good though, because I don't know that you could recover.
Right.
So it gives you an idea of how much balance you have there. Were you aware of that?
No,
I think it's a pretty cool metric. How far can you lean over to the left? Okay. Good. Okay. Whenever you're ready, go again. Well, let's go to the right. I promise I won't let you go into the floor. Okay. He doesn't believe me.
I'm going slowly.
It's very controlled. But you made it 1.5 inches by going slow. Alright, nice work. Go ahead and drop those arms down into your lap. Now, with your arms across your chest, how far can you go to the left? And remember how you use your arms differently, that you always stabilize with this one?
Mm-hmm.
So you're probably used to going over to this side more?
I think so.
Right? There's a right-left difference that I'm curious about. Okay, so now let's see how far you can go over to the right. Again, I promise I won't let you fall. Okay, about 1.5 inches again. Very controlled. Nice work. How far can you rotate, like your trunk? So I'm gonna, yeah. You can even keep your, yep, to the left. Okay, and to the right. All right. Okay. So do you do any work like that?
No.
Ah.
Should I? Yes.
Maybe that's a new little thing
Yes,
that,
absolutely.
yeah. You know, when you're getting those puzzle pieces, just make yourself
Make
yourself go to the side a little bit. Like, how many pieces are we talking puzzles?
1,000 pieces.
Okay, just a little bit. Alrighty. While you're here, can you shrug your shoulders up really, really high? Good, and don't let me move them. Oh, I should have tested that in your chair, but awesome test there. Shoulder, scapular elevation, there's no way I'm gonna ever challenge that. You did great. Alrighty. Would you mind getting on your stomach for me? I'm gonna move on my accoutrement. Do you prone very often?
No.
No.
I sleep on my side. This one all the way over here.
Have you had any skin issues?
No.
Okay.
Not since early on.
Do you sleep with your feet off the bed, or?
No, I have to. Well,
Oh, you're.
I have blisters. I was developing blisters on my heels,
Mm.
big blisters, and I didn't know whether it was from friction or from pressure. So I started sleeping with my feet on a padded blanket,
Mm-hmm.
and I've not had any issues. So
This is such a nice position for you. Do you know what I've seen your hips do?
what's that?
They started off about 2 inches up off the mat.
Mm-hmm.
And we got that far.
Is it good or bad?
That's good. Stretching back out. It's, especially since you haven't been up standing for a little bit.
I've not.
So one of the things I'm going to do really quickly, if you're cool with that, while your upper half is stretching, I just want to take a gander at what's happening down here. And your body said, oh, I'm going to make you work hard to get all the way through the range. That's about it. So I'm just going to check your dorsiflexion here. That's pretty good. And so if I did a clonus test here, no clonus in that position. Do your feet ever tap a lot?
You know the what?
Like tap a lot?
Yeah, some.
Some.
I wouldn't say a lot, but some.
Alright. And so, I already know, we talked about how high your hips are up off of the bed here. I know that you don't have, whoops, sorry, I triggered some spasms there. If I tried to lift your hip up, that I would be stretching across here, the front of your leg. So I don't want to stretch you too much today. I don't want to make you sore. But if we were working together, that would probably be one thing we would throw in. Hey, let's get some prone time. Let's get the range back at your hips so you can get back up and standing and work your trunk differently. So that's me folding a little education in as to why I'm doing something or not doing it. Okay, so usually I'll go through and just check motion through the spine. So I'm just doing a quick PA glide, guys, students. And so what I would say to you is, hey, I'm just going to check to see how everything's moving here. Let me know if anything bothers you. Okay, do you mind if I pull your shirt out and check your skin? Okay. So this reminds me that you had a prior surgery for your lumbar spine.
Correct. 2.
Okay.
L34 and L5S1 disectomies.
A discrepancy. All right, great. It's good to know that, and there's no hardware in there. So
No.
you are a superb historian. Students, you don't always get that. All righty. Do you want to lay down on your... Yep. You good there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You breathing okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there's no good scars to show you or anything. So let me keep that here. Can you bring your arms out in front? Yeah, with your thumbs up. Can you lift this right one? And don't let me move you here. Okay. And come out to the side here. Lift up. Don't let me move you. Right. And then down here. And lift up. Don't let me move you. Good. All right. So I'm always looking at scapular humeral rhythm. It's 2 to 1. So you get 120 degrees from the shoulder and about 60 degrees of motion from the scapula moving. And we'll be looking a little more closely at that. But it's really hard down here for your lower traps. So if he raises his arm, left arm, and he's facing left, he's actually going to be cheating.
Oh.
Yep. So, and we say that in not a mean way. Don't let me move you, okay? But I can melt you like butter, right? Sweet. Gotcha. Right here. Lift up. Great. Don't let me move you. Hold, 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 hold. Good. Again, that's your stabilizer.
Mm-hmm.
And down by your side. Great. Straight up. Don't let me move you. Hold, 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 hold. Good. With both arms there, I want to feel for the muscles that are working down along your spine, because your trunk has always amazed me. I feel like there's a lot going on in it. So I'm going to look and see what muscles are working. Can you lift your hands up and then try to lift up your head, neck, and shoulders too? Everything you got. And back down. So there's activation all but yeah, there's a face hold right here if you like that better.
Good.
Okay. And lift up again. And everything up, 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 up as high as you can. Do you trigger some spasms there? And back down. Okay. And come up one more time when you're ready. You take your time. Good. So I'm always feeling for activation and back down. And we've got activation pretty low down in your back here, no matter what they say, right?
Right.
There's something working in there. So those are the big things I like to see here. I could test cervical strength if I needed to, but I actually typically would just test that in sitting. And range of motion was more important to me for him than anything else, given how far out he is from injury and the fact that it wasn't cervical primary. So that looks awesome to me. Do you mind going onto your back now, please? So one of the things I'm taking note of is that Mark is super efficient with his bed mobility. He's got one little adjustment in his legs, and that's all he needs. All right, how you there?
I'm good.
Good. No spasms?
Much better than on my stomach.
Did you ever sleep on your stomach?
No.
Yeah. It's hard to introduce that. This is a super flat pillow, so I'm gonna double it over. Is that better?
Mm.
Okay, how many pillows do you sleep on?
2.
Why did I know that
Well,
was the answer?
2 very flat ones.
Okay. All right. So I want to see what's happening here
Sure.
in your trunk. You mind if I look at your belly?
No.
Okay. Because this is a pretty common scenario that with a gunshot wound they had to go in and do exploratory surgery
And
to make sure.
yeah,
What was messed
it
up?
ripped through my bowels. They took out about half of my intestines, and I have a partial colectomy, which I don't even know what that is. But the bowel resections,
Mhm.
they had to take out a lot of intestines.
And so think about that when you were thinking about, I'm starting to kind of feel when I need to go.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm
That
always
what's in there
worried-
is
I'm
not
always
what
worried
you
about that. Yeah.
started with. So how can you even begin to interpret it, right? I think
Right.
it's pretty amazing that you've got a feel for what's shaking. All right, so with your hands out in front here, can you lift up your head, neck, and shoulders and try to lift your shoulder blades? There you go. And relax back down. All right, let's go again, and I'm just going to lightly feel what's going on. And back down. And there goes the 2 flat toes.
It's okay.
But we're going to keep them there for a minute because I'm going to ask something else from you here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you point your hands toward that exit sign when you come up?
Both of them?
Yep. And come up, head, neck, shoulders, and back down. Okay, because I'm testing the outside muscles here. So go again. And back down. All right, do you feel things activating down there?
No.
I do. Let's go toward this exit sign now. All right, go for it. Up. And back down. And lift up again. And back down. You use a lot up in that shoulder and this upper trunk that you don't use on this side. Just an interesting thing that I noticed with the way that you move.
None of this makes sense to me.
Well, you know, you had the ways that you moved before anything happened, and you had the ways that you move after, and things keep changing, right? Oops, sorry, my name tag got stuck under his head. All right, let's have this arm here, and I'm going to just test your serratus. Can you punch up?
Do what?
Punch straight up, and just hold it there, and don't let me push you down. Awesome. There's no way I could break that. And lift up. As a tradesman, you were probably pretty strong before all this, right?
Yeah.
So, has there been anything that you've had to develop more than other things
Since
in your rehab? Mm-hmm. You've had to focus on the most?
I mean, I've come so far. I couldn't even hold a fork or a pan, for a long time. It took a while.
Okay. Well, while you're there, I'm going to take a look at your legs in this position, okay, just for some range. So far, my favorite thing we've done today is to get your sitting balance and give you some metrics on that. I thought that was pretty cool because that's one thing that you amaze me with when I met you an outpatient. That here, all your paperwork said one thing, but you really look like you had other capabilities. So this is pretty common. Not a lot of hip internal rotation, a lot of hip external rotation. This is how he's able to get shoes and socks on in the chair if need be and adjust things. And do you sit with your legs crossed ever? Okay. Some folks do. So if I'm going to do some tone testing on him and I want to check on the hamstrings, I'm going to move you a little fast, okay? Not getting anything there. So I'm going to come down quick the other way. I'm not getting anything here, but when he was prone and I bent his leg out, came across a lot of resistance. So we may stretch some of your tone, extra tone out there. You got a good tan going on this summer, sir. I do say so myself.
You'd like to see a real difference, I think, in the two legs.
Here we go. There's a little girth difference if I just look at them.
Right.
Have you had a blood clot?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Because usually people who've had a blood clot on one leg will say, that's my heavy leg.
This is my heavy
And it
leg, but
is.
I've not had a blood clot.
Yeah. A little tighter here. And as I bring this leg out, there's resistance in it. Oh, so you're about the last half of the range. Does that trigger anything higher up for you?
No.
Okay. And your range is beautiful. Do you stretch every day?
I do.
Beautiful.
I do.
There's a little resistance in the hamstrings coming up too. Much more in the quads. But check this out. You got more range here. Into internal rotation on this leg. And again, who knows what was pre-existing and the habits of how you move now. Do you transfer to the right into your bed or into the left?
Right.
Okay. How many transfers would you say you do a day?
15, 20, 25.
Very common. Very common to be at least in a 15 range. Yeah. All right. So it's hard to do an exam and talk through it. Shelby, you're there. What do you think? What's a question you have, something that I've missed? Like proprioception, I'm not really going to look at in his lower extremities or his hands right now. I don't feel like that is a priority for me right now. I could look at that. I think graphesthesia might be really interesting for him to look at. So we might go through some of those. I would want to test some pinch strength and some grip strength. I didn't get those things out today, so that's me being unprepared. note to self, be more prepared than Dr. Lee. We talked about we would have tested I would have looked at his blood pressure and double checked things before and then after. Any questions that you have sitting there right now?
I was wondering why you checked the myoclonus when he was prone and had the knee flex instead of like at the edge of the bed now or in the chair.
I could do it either way. It was just easy there.
Okay.
I can do it either way. Here, he's a little bit tight in his dorsiflexors, which I would not be surprised about. Probably if he stands for a couple of weeks pretty consistently, we'd come back and look at that and it would be different. So that's a measure that I typically would take in an exam and just take note of. And if that's one of our things that we're working toward, then we would document that and move forward.
And coordination, do you do any coordination testing?
We definitely could. I wanted to get function down first and see how things were and really look at his trunk strength and balance because that was a priority for me. I also kind of want to look at trunk balance in his chair to compare long sit to short sit in his chair because that's how you function here for dressing and something, but you function all day from there. So again, I think he knows he's using things, but I want to know how far can he go without having to hold on. And maybe that's something that we're working on because when I test his strength, I really wanted you to see that there's something going on in his abs and in his trunk extensors, even though you're Asia out at a C7 Asia A. So always be looking. And what I tell my folks is early on, I'm going to keep testing strength. We might find something different every day. I never ask you to do anything to make you feel bad about yourself. I'm just an investigator here. There could be something new anytime. So you've had a million PT exams. What have I not done that I should have done because I was too busy getting interrupted 7 times and videotaping? This is always the part where you're really the instructor, so you need to grade me. What have I not done well?
Oh, no, this just reminds me of all the PT.
All the PT before?
Yeah, I've had before since the beginning.
So that's pretty good. So with any finished product, we can go back and look at this and say, oh yeah, there's 17 things I could have done, but I just really wanted to get across why I've looked at what I've looked at so far. Scapular stability, shoulder strength. I haven't looked at internal, external rotation strength yet, so let me do that real fast with the shoulder. Because I was saving it for this position, and I got super excited about the trunk and almost forgot. Standard pair operating procedures. So with your hand right there, your arm right there, don't let me move you in, okay? Relax, and don't let me pull you out here. Awesome. That external rotation is really such a key for a lot of people to avoid shoulder pain. And to have more function. Sure. So, alright, don't let me push you in. And let me bring it in just a little bit. If he holds it out here, he's going to use his abductors a little bit. So don't let me move you here. Oh, good. And don't let me pull you out. Great. So you notice there's a little overflow. Everything's working pretty hard in his hand and everything's just to help that shoulder. Not that he needs any help. He's going to defeat me. Okay, so what do you say, set up, do you want me to get your shoes back on? Do you want to do it? We'll pop back over and we'll look at balance. Because if you take your shoes off on my behalf, I'm going to be very willing to put them back on for you.
I can put them back on. Just
Okay.
kind of do.
All right. That's just my standing policy. Yeah. So while he's doing that, you can watch, but also I'm just taking a look at his chair. You know, he's got a push to lock brake. It's not a thumb saver that goes under. But he's cool with it. He's in a J2 deep contour. How old is this bad boy?
It's too old. I need a new one.
Yeah, I'm kind of bottoming out there.
I have so many chairs, and this is probably
One of the older cushions.
one of the older
Yeah.
cushions.
She's got an aftermarket back that has some lateral support. It's pretty low, so his scapula are definitely free to move around. He can lean back over it and gain a little bit of balance that way. Fixed front end, not quite at 90, maybe at 85. And his foot plate, you could turn it around and tuck his feet further under, or probably right out here is just where he wants them. He's got what we call a soft roll wheel, where it's maybe a 5 inch by 2 inch. So you can get over more things because it's a little bit wider, but it's smaller and you can get through the house a little bit easier with a smaller footprint. At your house, do you have ramps to get in? Are there any issues in the house?
No, not in the house, but we widened all the doorways, we ripped out the bathtub, put in the roll-in shower. So all of our doors are 36 inch,
Awesome.
which keeps me from busting my knuckles when I go into
Right.
rooms. And it's hardwood floors, no carpet, so it's really
Really
it's the
accessible.
setup.
Yeah.
And there's one ramp in the back door to get in
That's what I was remembering.
that is very much ADA specifications.
So there's another thing that some people do with their doorways is they have something called a piano hinge, so that it's like opening a piano keyboard, where the door will open and then open a little further, so it gains you the 2
Right.
inches of the width of the door.
Right.
So as a carpenter and house builder and construction person, you probably know a lot about that. I had to definitely learn.
I wasn't aware of that, but
Yeah.
it makes sense.
So he's got the rigid side guard on his chair. This is a semi-pneumatic tie. No, it's not.
No,
It's
it's
pneumatic,
air.
high
It's
pressure.
air.
So he's got a coated rim, a little ergonomic. It's spoked wheel, quick release. He's got swing away armrests, flip up, push handles. What else you got on the sweet ride?
That is.
Yeah, so it's a rigid frame, so there's a bar in the back and it folds down this way, so you're left with the box.
My other chair does not have the lat supports, and I can tell a big difference in these two chairs.
Mhm.
I love this back. So, I'm not as comfortable in the other one, but I feel like it makes me work harder, so I don't mind being in it. But,
Yeah, you wouldn't want to have
but
to.
it's not as comfortable.
Well,
as
you
this
wouldn't
one.
have to work. You don't have to work with everything else that you're doing in a day,
Yeah.
right? So.
And I also feel like with the other back, I'm afraid that I'm doing damage on these posts on my back because sometimes I'll look and I'll be bruised,
Yeah, so I'd
and
say.
it's from like reaching for things. And,
Yeah.
but I
So
don't
do you hook over that?
all the time.
All the time. So that's a concept that we haven't talked about yet, but that's something that we see our folks with tetraplegia do, is hook an arm
All the
for
time.
stability, and then you've got more range. It's nothing we teach, it's something that people learn and do, and they figure out for themselves. So this is a flip-up foot plate, and his foot was just getting caught under it.
Look at this.
You want me to make this downhill?
Okay.
Okay. Sweet. Tell them we're the skin police, and the skin police have nothing bad to say about that transfer. Expertly executed,
Yay.
thank you. Yeah. All right, so here in your chairs, I grabbed my handy dandy little measuring tape, and you've got the benefit of your laterals. But let's say that you were going to lean to the side here on the right. How far can you lean?
Without holding on to anything.
Yeah, let's try that. All right, come back up. Ooh. So use some momentum there. It's about
Sorry.
5 centimeters. So let's go over to this side. 5 inches.
Going for 8. Sorry.
Your optimal theory that you hit your 8, it was just the return to the middle that was hard. So you guys would be able to watch that and replay that and take and even compare to how did he move before to how did he move there. What was different? All right, so that's pretty sweet. How far can you lean forward and keep control? Wait, I don't want to miss your best ever. Okay, so go for it.
I went too far.
I'm
Sorry.
telling you, that's some sweet control though.
Still went too
So you
far.
went forward 11.5 inches. So, but where you have control to come back is a different story. What would you say you do the most every day that encourages that? What do you forward reach for? Everything.
I like to cook, so like in the kitchen, you know,
I didn't know
reaching
that,
for
Mark.
something.
So am I.
Yeah.
My kids like to eat. It would be a
Yeah.
great setup.
Mine too.
Yeah. All right. Well, I feel like we've gone through just about everything, and we've gotten a lot of information. And so from here, we would go ahead and make a plan of care. And honestly, I would want to see if I could sneak some prone stretches in on you, maybe while we're doing some scapular stability or something for your upper body. So
You want my hips to touch.
I want those hips down. So even if you were here on your elbows a lot, to get the strength in here and maybe some cervical work under control, that would be something I would want us to be working on so that your standing's easier and your balance is actually better. Making sure we can get those in standing, get the ankles stretched out a little bit more, and while you're standing, we'll be doing some functional stuff that you need. Probably some fine motor work, right? Seeing what we could do there. Probably some strengthening, scapular, shoulders, trunk, and maybe even in combo with some fine motor work. I don't know, we'd have to get creative and figure out what we would do, but I would want to kind of do that whole combo. And then, what kind of cardio work are you into these days?
Not much.
Not much. So I would want to, set forth like, okay, FES bike. You up for some of that?
Oh yeah, I really love the FES bike. I love it.
How could we kind of integrate that to get a little bit more spasticity control potentially? How could we get a little more cardio work? What would that be doing to your baseline vitals? Okay, because you and I are in an age demographic where things are changing, and we don't want to have that little creep of extra weight and higher blood pressure, and then am I getting more toward the diabetes kind of scenario? Because that's not anything that.
No, I know.
So, and then there's new step. You've got plenty of upper extremity and trunk to kick into the new step and really be able to help
That's good
facilitate
cardio, too.
movement. Yeah.
See, I haven't
And
been.
arm bike
I had a Y membership. I was going 3-4 days a week, and I just quit doing all that. I just.
You're gonna have to light that fire again.
I started. I know you're right. I need the strength training. I need the cardio. I definitely need to.
If nothing else, the cardio and the social interaction.
Sure.
Yeah. Has anyone ever met you who didn't want to talk to you?
No, and sometimes that's not a good thing when you've got your headphones in and you're on the new step trying to knock it out, and everybody, you have to keep taking them out. But yeah.
So, all right. Cool. Well, I think that gives us a place to go, and we also want to kind of maybe look at some adaptations to your chair. So if we were going to continue PT, that would be maybe some of the goals that we would set that seem to fit with some of the things you would want to do, and then we toss in that, okay, now let's get back to let's look at a floor transfer. How's it looking right now? What are the pieces that are the hardest for you? And how can we help either get the strength or tweak things a little bit to keep protecting the shoulders? Because you're putting how many miles on them every day?
Sure.
And those 25 transfers are a lot, to figure out what's going on. So that would be where we would go next. Cool.
Great.
All right, guys, if you guys have questions, let me know, and we'll